Hello, everyone. My name is Sang, and I am the Microsoft 365 team lead from Cadence Solutions. So I've been with Cadence Solutions for about 5 years, and I've been working on various ECM projects, including records management, engineering, migration, and integration. But today, our focus is going to be about eDiscovery. And eDiscovery from Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal, which was previously known as Compliance Center. So the agenda for today is we will be first going over what eDiscovery is and what it is used for. And we are also going to discuss the benefits of using eDiscovery in your organization. After covering what it is and what its benefits are, we are going to discuss the different types of eDiscovery solutions that are offered by Microsoft Purview. After that, we are going to look at what we need to use those different types of eDiscovery solutions. So in other words, permissions and license requirements. And after we get all those basic information out of the way, we're going to go over a demo scenario of an internal data leak and how eDiscovery can assist in troubleshooting where the data leak came from. Now, before we go to the next slide, just to kind of see if everybody's paying attention, we are just going to do a quick show of hands of how many people know what eDiscovery is. Can we get a show of hands by reaction? If we see a bunch. Oh, wow. That's quite a lot of hands. Awesome. Great. So about half of you raised your hands and half of you didn't. So this webinar is going to be focusing on eDiscovery from start to finish. So we're going to start from the basics and assume that people don't know what eDiscovery is. Then we're going to go over what it is first. And by the end of this webinar, I believe everybody should be an expert or at least have a general understanding of what eDiscovery is. All right, so eDiscovery is pretty much the process of identifying and delivering electronically stored information, also known as ESI, that are usually used in evidences in legal cases. So when I say ESI, they're pretty much data or contents such as emails, documents, audio files, websites, and any kind of electronic data. And eDiscovery allows us to put these ESIs on a litigation hold or a legal hold, or just hold for short, so that we can produce a core volume of evidence for litigation. We went over what a hold is. It's basically preserving all forms of potentially relevant information, so making the content immutable or not deletable. And we can use eDiscovery in Microsoft Purview to search and export content from SharePoint, OneDrive, Exchange Online, and other kind of and Teams as well. So it's a pretty neat tool to have. Now we are going to go over the benefits of using Microsoft 365 eDiscovery. So the main benefit of using Microsoft 365 Purview Compliance Portal's eDiscovery solution is that it gives organization a tool to better sort, understand, and discover their data. While there are other solutions offered from Microsoft 365 Purview for eDiscovery, like the standard and the content search, these solutions do not really give the full experience that the eDiscovery Premium solution will give. So we'll go on to discuss the differences between the different types of eDiscovery solutions after we discuss the benefits. Also, during the demo, you will see that the Premium eDiscovery solutions offer a much more rich experience than their counterparts. The second benefit is, while eDiscovery is mainly a litigation tool, it can also be used for internal investigations and responding to internal or external requests for information. So the demo scenario that we're actually going to go over today is going to be more focused on the internal investigation scenario of using eDiscovery. And third benefit is there's too much data. There's always a challenge of going and to find the relevant ESI that is fit for the legal case or internal investigations. Now, these 3 points are official benefits of using eDiscovery. But now, I want to discuss the benefits of using Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal's eDiscovery solution, and there's two main points. It is first, it's 48% faster than third-party eDiscovery solutions, according to a case study conducted by a global eDiscovery service provider, Epic. The fact that you do not need to export the data out of M365 allows the eDiscovery process to be much quicker than third-party solutions. So it's quicker, and it also costs way less. The reason why it costs significantly less than other third-party eDiscovery solutions is because it only requires the Microsoft 365 licenses. Now, I am going to go over the license requirements soon, but before that, I'll discuss the different types of eDiscovery solutions offered by Microsoft Purview. So there are three different types of eDiscovery solutions. The first is content search. Second is the standard eDiscovery or eDiscovery standard. And last but not least is the eDiscovery premium or the premium eDiscovery. I'm not going to go through the whole list here because there's just a lot of capability that's listed. And also during the demo, you'll kind of see the differences between the content search, eDiscovery standard, and the premium. So that way you'll get a more of an in-depth experience than just reading this chart here. But basically, content search is fairly simple. You search for content stored in your M365, and you export the results from your search. That's pretty much it. One key thing about the content search is that we cannot place content locations on legal hold. So there's no way to place legal holds with content search. Now with eDiscovery standard, we get a better experience. We get an actual case management experience. And with the case management experience, we can also place legal holds on locations. So those two actually make it a much more fulfilling experience than the content search. And last but not least, the last here, eDiscovery Premium, covers all the items below. So it's not just the case management solution, but there's just so much more capability that eDiscovery Premium provides. It's pretty much eDiscovery on steroids. So it allows you to manage custodians. You can have legal hold notification features, advanced indexing, OCR. You can filter your review sets, and much more. So eDiscovery Premium is really the tool to better sort, understand, and discover your organization's data. Now that we discussed the three different types of eDiscovery solutions, I am going to go over what we need to use the eDiscovery solution. So basically, license requirements. So for content search, if you have E1 or G1 license, you can pretty much perform a content search. It's just searching for content, exporting the content without any case management or legal hold. If you have E3 license or G3 license, you can use the standard eDiscovery, which allows you to actually have basic case management features with legal hold capabilities. Now, with the E5 license or G5 license, you can use the premium eDiscovery solution, and which is just all the functionalities that make it so amazing. Now, that said, are there any questions before we proceed to the demo? If not,
anyone can also use the raise hand function if you'd like to, and we can get to you that way as well.
All right. So we are going to go to the demo now. Oh, one additional thing to mention is the permission. You need the eDiscovery Manager or eDiscovery Administrator role on Microsoft Purview. So the demo scenario that we have prepped here is internal data leak or insider risk. So employee shares a sensitive information, such as customers' credit card information or social security number. And with DLP and Microsoft Data Protection configured, the information security team identified an internal data leak. So that's the background of this case. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the Microsoft 365 eDiscovery to gather information about that employee so that it can be sent to the HR or legal team so that we can conduct an investigation or build a case. So the solutions that we're going to use is we're going to first go over the content search, then eDiscovery standard quite quickly. Then we'll go over the eDiscovery premium to see what it has to offer. Now I am going to just to check, am I cutting off anytime or is everything good now?
It's much better than before. Every once in a while you get a little bit of a cut, but I don't think it's anything too bad.
Sounds good. All right, so I'm going to stop slide here and I am actually going to open compliance.microsoft.com. Zoom in a little bit so that everybody has a better view. All right, so this is Microsoft Purview or Compliance Center, which was previously Compliance Center, but people still refer to Compliance Center. But anyhow, Microsoft Purview, and this is where we can use eDiscovery. Now, before we go use content search or eDiscovery, there's one thing that we got to do, and that is setting up permissions. So on the right-hand side, there's the permissions tab here. And when we go to permissions, we can click the Microsoft Purview Solutions, click the roles. And within the roles, there is the eDiscovery Manager role. Now, with this role, we need to, it allows users to perform searches and place holds on mailboxes, SharePoint online sites, and more. So basically, it is required to use eDiscovery. And there's two different types. There's the manager and the admin. So admin can view all cases, whereas manager can only view cases that are assigned to them. So for this, for the demonstration purposes, I am assigned to the eDiscovery administrator role. And this is the first thing that needs to be done before performing any eDiscovery steps. Now, we are going to go over content search first. So the content search is on the left-hand side on the solutions right here. So content search requires the E1 license once again, and it is basically search and export. That's it. So to create a new search, you click this new search button and we can go data leaks, content search demo, the name. And what we can do is we can specify the locations of where we're grabbing the data. So we can specify users or teams. I'm gonna, for the sake of demonstration, we know that from DLP that Alex Wilbur is the somebody that we think has the risk of insider risk. So we're gonna select this user here, and we're gonna also choose all the sites for SharePoint. And we can have Exchange public folders on as well, but I'm just gonna go with off for this and click next. And then it allows us to put a keyword here, and we can put any kind of keywords here to kind of filter, and we're gonna see if any social security number has been extracted. And once we click next, it gives you a review of what you're trying to search for, and you can submit. And once submitted, it just takes a while. We get the new search created notification here, but it just takes a while for the search to actually kind of search the system. Especially if your system is large, the search is going to take much longer. That's why I have this content search already provided here with the same configuration. And once this is done, when the search is completed, we can review the samples of the search. Review samples, we actually see that Alice Wilbur has sent an email or a message to Megan Bowen with something like social security number, credit card, such as Visa, Amex, and other sweet stuff. So this is either a Teams message or email, and we can also see there's another kind of a data source, but unfortunately this document type is not supported by Purview on the content search, so we're not able to view it. But what we can do is we can't really filter any data too with the search, but what we can do is we can go to the actions and we can export the results. And when you click the export results, you have a couple options to what to include and whatnot. But what we're going to do for this one is we're going to just do all items, including the ones that have unrecognized format. And we're going to just go with the default setting here. And there's other kind of settings that you can enable, like deduplications and include versions for SharePoint files. But we're just going to export like the default setting here. And the export also takes a bit of time to process. So when this is done and we get the job has been created, it just takes a while for the job to be picked up. But I believe this one, because I just resubmitted it, it's just refreshing right now. But I did have downloaded the results, and I can show you the downloaded results here for the content search. So when this is done and when you click the download results, you will get something similar to the date, something like this. It gives you the date and time, and it gives you an export summary and where the exports are coming from. So from Exchange, we get a PSD file, and when this is opened up in Outlook, this is an email, and we also can see the SharePoint document from 2 different locations that have the social security number keyword that we were filtering. And this was actually a Teams chat, and Alex seemed to have sent the client info Excel spreadsheet to some of his team member. So that's pretty much it for content search. It allows you to search and export, but it ends there for content search. There's no other case management features or kind of placing any documents or content on hold. Now, that said, we are going to go over to the eDiscovery solution, the standard one. The standard eDiscovery solution here allows you to actually create a case. So now that we can actually see, instead of just having to search and export, we can start from creating a case. And I am actually going to press internal data leak over Alex demo. The reason why I am putting the demo on this one is because we know for the fact that if I create a search here, this is going to take a while. So I just have something prepped so that we don't have to wait for the searches to search to process. But the standard here actually gives you a full case experience with the possibility to close a case and delete a case. So closing a case means you're closing the actual case and putting everything that you placed on hold. You're unreserving everything that you placed on hold. And basically, you can reopen the case if you close a case, whereas deleting a case, you have to make sure that all the holds that are within the case are gone or deleted before you can actually proceed with deleting a case here on the standard version. So on the standard solution here, we have the search, which is actually pretty much similar to content search. So I'm not going to actually go over going through all the steps here because it's actually exactly identical to content search. But one additional thing that we can do is placing on hold. So for that, I'm going to just jump into the case that was created before. And as you can see, the search is already there. And this search, we also added a condition on the search for date, which I will show you later. And we can review the sample from this search. And this was the same email here. So the key benefit here, again, we can create multiple searches, which allows us to tie multiple searches into a single case. So we have a case management experience other than just the content search experience. Placing on hold, we can actually place items on hold, clicking create and clicking and putting a name But one thing that you'll notice here is that when you're creating a hold on the eDiscovery standard, you actually got to choose the locations again. This was actually identical to the content search that we did, but we got to select which locations we want this hold to be applied to. And after that, we have the query, and we got to add the keywords again. And we can also add a condition, and this is what I did for this sample here. We can add a date, so the dates between August 20th and September 20th. There are way more filters that we can play around with, or conditions that we can play around with. And if you click next, just review your settings and you submit. Once you submit, it pretty much creates something like this. And it shows you the status of success, but it just takes a bit of time for the hold to be applied. And it is a bit tedious because what you have to do is from search, you have to create a search and you got to create a hold for the location that is exactly identical to the search that you had. And so while it does have the case management functionalities, it's not as robust as the demonstration that we are going to go over next. So one other thing before we go to the next one, we also have for this one the ability to export, same as the content search actions, and then export results, which will end up with an export, which you can download results. And one other thing to note about downloading the results is that on the standard or content search, you need to run this download on Microsoft Edge because this will not work on Chrome. So that is one thing to take away if I've not known that before. And downloading, you got to just put the export key so that it is a secure export and select the location of where you are downloading the files to. All right. Are there any questions so far with the standard? Not seeing anything, so I will continue on with the premium solution. So eDiscovery Premium, the option is right here underneath the standard solution. And this premium solution actually starts with an overview page. And it's pretty nice because with the overview page, you can kind of tell how many cases are your cases. Right now, I am the eDiscovery admin, so I have full access to all the cases. But if you were to be an eDiscovery manager, you would be only seeing your cases here and any recent cases that you were using. So it's pretty nice for the managers to kind of see what cases that they have assigned to them and what they were working on. Also, in order to create a new case now on the premium, we got to go to the case tab and we got to click the create case. When you click the create case, we can put internal data leak demo and number demo or CAD and kind of a number here. So basically, if you do have any kind of case number format, eDiscovery Premium actually allows you to put the case number on the case itself. And it also gives you configuration prompt to ask you if you want to configure additional settings after creating the case. And we're going to select this as default yes. And the case format, we're always going to use the new because the classic is going to be deprecated soon. So new is recommended. So when you first initially create a case like this, it goes directly to the settings tab. And on this page, you can add members or add roles to the groups here. So you can actually manage members and manage roles so that other users can access the case. Also, you have the search and analytics section here where you can kind of customize the OCR settings or any minimum number of words, like number of themes, or any text that you want to ignore. So this actually gives you a more of a custom filtered experience to your case. And the last but not least, the case information here is basically the general case information. If you decide to change your case name or the case number, this is where you can do it. And also this is where we can close the case or delete the case. And once we go over the settings page, we're going to just take a quick look at the overview page. So this overview page here really just summarizes the case itself, and most importantly, the number of custodians you have on this case and the custodians that are on hold. You can also see the notifications over here, but the custodians are the important part. And basically, we have 0 right now because we did not configure any custodians whatsoever. So in order to configure the custodians, we got to go to the data source here. We got to add the custodians, but so custodians is something different than content search and eDiscovery standard. So by adding a new custodian, custodians are basically people that have administrative control of a document or ESI. So if you are conducting an audit on a specific person within our organization, we can assign them as a custodian and get all the files related to them and place them on hold. Now, I'm going to add a new custodian here from the data source. And this is going to be select custodian. So we can select custodian, so we can select the user. So we know that Alex Wilbur has been sending some data leakage outside the organization or potentially within the organization. But we know that Alex has been contacting Megan from our content search. So I'm just going to add these two as the custodian here, and we can select which locations for each custodian to grab the information from. So we can actually grab their entire exchange, if there are any, if their SharePoint, entire SharePoint site, or even Teams conversation here. I'm just going to add everything here, all the SharePoint site. And I'm going to do the same for Megan. So by adding a custodian like this, then the next step that we can do on the data source is we can actually create a hold directly. This is much simple and less tedious, and it's intuitive, because when we were using eDiscovery standard, we noticed that we got to create the same kind of search as a hold. So we got to put a location hold with the same configuration as the search that we conducted. But now we can just place a hold to the two custodians and click next and submit. And when the new custodians are created, we see the two custodians. And if we go to the hold tab right here, it just takes a bit, but trust me, I know it's a demo, so it's not working obviously, but when the custodians are created, a hold is automatically created as well as, and it gets placed on hold. And also we can add a location as well. So not just the custodian, but we can add data locations such as SharePoint sites, Microsoft Exchange, and any connected apps. We're just going to add a finance site, the entire site here. And we're going to add. So we can have multiple data sources defined in our case. And I'm just going to see if the hold is being created. No. All right, we'll just go on with it. So with the multiple data sources configured, we can go to collections here. And we can start creating a collection. So collection allows users to define a specific scope searches across like email, documents, and the data sources that we define. And we can save it as a draft. So collections are simply a draft of the review sets, or it's kind of like a saved search of the review set. So I'll go over creating a collection here with the data sources that we have defined here. So when you click new collection, we're gonna name this Alex over and Megan Bowen. Click next. And we can select the custodians, we can select all, or we can select individuals. Since we are going to collect both information from Megan and Alex, we're going to add both. And we can also, for non-custodial data sources, we can select the location that we have defined. And these are all the data sources that we have defined previously just now. We can also add additional locations, and this is very similar to what we've seen in content search and eDiscovery standard. But we're going to skip this because we have our data sources already configured here. We can go to conditions, and the conditions are pretty much the same. We can put keywords like social security number, visa, Amex, and we can also add conditions as well. And once this is done, here is the difference. So we can get collection estimates, which actually allows you to not save the search as a review set, but kind of save it. Well, save the search, but not as a review set, so that we can do a further review and refine this collection to create a review set in the future. So it's a draft of a review set if we get the collection of estimates, get collection estimates, but we can do collect items and add to review set directly. So this will create a review set directly, and we are going to go with this option. Also, if you already have an existing review set and you collected new data, you can add that newly collected data to an existing review set as well. And we are going to click next, and it gives you a simple review of your summary as well as the data sources that we have selected. Now we're going to submit. And once this collection is created, because we have specified we want to add to a review set is also going to be created here. So if I click done, go to review sets, we have the review set created, and it is still parsing. So the processing jobs are still in progress on this review set, and it might take a while for the review set to populate. Let's just take a look at if the holds are automatically created, and here you go. So we see that the holds are automatically created with the jobs here on the jobs tab. All right, so now the review set's created, but we can't really see the review sets here. I'm going to go to the case that actually would have that information. So it was the same collection, and basically the review set here. When we click on it, we can actually see the data that was collected. And so to further explain what exactly a review set is the static set of the documents created from the collection, and managers and admins can analyze, query, review, and also tag and export content in this case. They help case members to manage the content as well as collaborate. So I'm just going to take a look at this Teams chat here. It's different before. Before, we only saw from the standard or constant search just as an Outlook file. Wasn't really sure if it was a Teams conversation or an email, but now we actually have the full conversation as a source here that is relevant to the keyword search that we did. So it seems like Alex and Megan has been talking, and Alex sent a list of personal information of clients as per Megan's request, and Megan received the file, client info.xls, and Alex told Megan, please don't share with anyone else. Megan said, of course, it's just for my records, and asked what information is included, and Alex stated social security number, credit cards such as Visa, Amex, and other sweet stuff. We noticed that previously this was the only thing grabbed, but now we got the full context using the eDiscovery Premium. And if we just go through the items further, hey, we actually noticed that Megan sent this information out to somebody else in the organization. Hey, this is the information you requested. So there is an information leak outside from the organization, from inside the organization to outside. And that's the full list Excel file. And also, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but on the standard or the console search, we couldn't really view Excel files, but here we are allowed to view Excel files as well in the review. We can also tag documents by creating new tags and tagging to specific needs, as well as filter the review set itself to whatever filtering needs that we need. We can change the keywords, mark as pivot, or check the IDs, and all the other kind of filters that we want to apply. We can actually set the filters. So there's a refinement of the search that you can do. And when you actually try to export the data out from the review set, you have the option to just export the selected documents or all the filtered document if you have applied any filters, or all the documents within the review set. Now, this also allows us to report, include tags, and we can also replace redacted natives with converted PDFs as well. So when you click the export here and create an export job, what it's going to do is it is going to create something similar to the job here. The export process took, I believe, around 30 minutes, and it does take a while, depending, and especially if you have a larger system, it's going to take longer. So I am, for the demo purposes, just going to go over here. And this is the exported result. It's in a zip file, and you can select which items to download, and you can just download the exported files here. Basically, if you unzip it, you have the native files and the export load file, which is the kind of a summary. And you have all the files, including the email that was sent outside. Let's see if I can actually view this email before. Save changes. Just loading up on my other screen here. And you actually have the email file from Megan to Sang with the Word document, and Megan saying, please do not let anyone know it was I who sent this. All right. So, but we know, because all thanks to eDiscovery Premium, we have this information all exported and placed on hold. So even if the users try to delete, they are still in the system. There are a couple other things that we can cover as well. These features from eDiscovery Premium, communications. I'm just going to go over them briefly, what they are. So the communication allows us to send email notifications to custodians when their files are affected by a hold. So they can get notified for an issuance, reissuance, and release of a hold. And processing. So processing provides an insight into the status of an advanced indexing for different processing scenarios. And you can also address processing errors with file identification, text extraction, and more by going into here. You can check the errors. There's no errors here for us, but this is where you would kind of check if there are any processing errors and remediate them. And last but not least are the jobs. And it pretty much gives you a list of all the jobs that were performed on this case, so that we actually have a better understanding of what is going on as a scheduled job on the process, on the case. All right, so that actually concludes my demonstration of how Microsoft 365 Purview compliance portals eDiscovery solutions can be used to address insider risk. And so we have taken a look at different types of eDiscovery solutions: content search, standard eDiscovery, and eDiscovery Premium. And from this demo, we have noticed that the Premium gives us, the users, a more robust and full case management experience that is highly customizable and filtered and refinable. All right, so that said, that concludes the presentation. So we will open up the floor to any questions that you might have.
We've also enabled the microphones if someone wants to they can unmute themselves. Lindsay, I see you have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, I have a couple questions for you. When you close a case in eDiscovery, does it still keep a record of actions within that case so that it is an existing case?
It should, because you can actually reopen the case as well to actually view the case again. So
Okay.
it should. Yeah, so it
Sorry.
should.
Is
No
there
worries.
a timeline on when it might not be visible anymore?
I'm not too sure on that one, so I'll
Okay.
get back to you on that question.
Okay. And unless you send one of those communications that you showed to staff, letting them know they're on a hold, would staff have any idea that they are on hold otherwise?
They would not.
Okay. With the permissions, the managers have access to view only cases assigned to them, and admin can view all cases. How do you suggest you set up for a situation where you have your records FOI team that would have access to all records, but you would have maybe your legal team who could obviously also take advantage of the legal hold feature, but you wouldn't want them to necessarily see all of your FOI cases? Are they able to create their own cases as a manager, or do you, as the admin, have to create the case?
I haven't actually tested the manager role to create a case, but just been on it as a manager itself. But I believe I can get back to you on that, so don't quote me on this, but I believe the admin has to create the case and assign a manager so that they can view the case.
Okay.
Once they are on the case, they can actually have all the functionalities to place on hold and export the data.
Okay. So have you ever seen a system where you have those different roles? Like I said, you've got your FOI case managers, and then the freedom of information, and then your legal team, that you wouldn't necessarily want them both to see each other's cases. Do you know how you might set that up?
I haven't seen a case like that, but what I would do is set up two different cases if that is a case where we don't want them to see each other's information on the case itself. My team might know a bit more information on how to set up a scenario like that, so I can get back to you on that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, no worries.
Thanks, Lindsay. We do have one question here. Maria Sang in the chat from Dawn. Do all users in the organization need an E5 license or premium, or just people who are managing cases?
The people who are managing cases need the E5 licenses.
Right. Sang, we got another question in chat here. You see that?
How do you create search parameters for content? Departments would need to conduct searches within their own sites and not have access to other department sites. So I guess the limitation really is, as the admin, you actually have access to all the sites. So what will have to be done is, I haven't tested this out, but if you are an admin and if you do not have other permissions to those sites, you should not have access to those departments. I'll test that out and get back to you on it, Mandy. But if you don't have access to it in the first place, you should not have access to it at all, the sites. Hope that answered the question. All right, are there any other questions? Yep.
Saying this is Jordan, I'll just jump in following up on Lindsay's question.
Yep.
So Lindsay, the eDiscovery manager role, even though it's labeled as manager, you cannot access or manage cases created by another manager. So the permission model still applies if legal and records want to keep secrets from each other in eDiscovery.
Okay. Can they, so the manager can create their own cases though?
Correct, yeah. They can create and manage their own cases, but not somebody else's. The eDiscovery administrator is one level up.
Right, okay.
So I think there's some overuse of the word manager there in the definition from Microsoft. I wouldn't have picked that word, but
Yeah, I get where they're going with it, but okay.
Case manager, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Versus the whole eDiscovery management.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jordan.